So, can I start?
Not yet, Sensei.
It says live stream.
Wait a moment.
Okay.
I will introduce your curriculum vitae. Wait a moment. I lost. Wait. Okay. Just a moment. Just 1 minute. Belum ya? Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's. I introduce Professor Izumi. Professor Izumi. This is paper, a lot of paper. Wait a moment. Okay. Name Yosuo Izumi. Date birth January 4, 1965, and then in Tokyo. Sensei graduate from Doctor of Science, University of Tokyo, and then experience research in both Stanford University, California, 1996 until 1997. And then this is fields of study, surface chemistry, environmental chemistry, and also especially in X-ray spectroscopy. And then this one, the bachelor from Tokyo University, and then master also from University of Tokyo, and then doctor from University of Tokyo. And then this is a job before come chapter. Izumi Sensei have job in Asahi Chemical Suzuka factory, and then lecturer in grade school of science and technology, Tokyo Institute Technology, and then finally join with Shiba University at 2007, and then become the professor 2018, also in Shiba University. And then this is committee, societies, and activities. This is many activities belong to Prof. Izumi, editorial member, and then also active in reviewer in American Society of Chemistry, right? And then I go to paper. Before go to paper, this is prize. Sensei also have many prize. Young scientist prize 2000, and then Fujino prize 2000. Also special lecture prize of young generation 21, and then also many prize from Shiba University, also from outside Japan. And then this one is original paper. I think this is more than 95, right? More than has published from Sensei, and then also a member of laboratory department of chemistry. And then I saw also Sensei has published some books. It is interesting because 2 books Sensei published together with my professor Anpo Sensei. This is very nice, and wait a moment. This one, Sensei. Yes. Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Okay. This one, some of book has published. Sensei also with my professor, Masazaku Anpo or Anpo Sensei, and then also Izumi Sensei has a patent and activity foundation and so on. Okay, and then I continue introduce the second speaker. This is Professor Muhammad Lutfi Firdaus, PhD, from Graduate School of Science Education, University of Bengkulu. Bengkulu is different island from my university. My university in Java Island, and then Bengkulu University in Sumatra Island. So this is the different island. And now Professor Lutfi is Vice Rector for Academic and Student Affairs, and then he graduated PhD from Kyoto University and Master from ITB or Bandung Institute of Technology Indonesia, and then a Bachelor from Padjadjaran University, same with me. And then postdoctoral, he used some visiting a scholar and also postdoctoral in Australia, also South Africa, Kyoto University, the University of Tokyo, and then International Center of Theoretical Physics, Italy, and then MIT, UK, also in UK. Professor Lutfi research interest in environmental chemistry, chemical oceanography, and then also analytical chemistry. And then also this one, I think this one is selected paper has published being Professor Lutfi. And then the last, this is also Professor Lutfi as reviewer some of international journal. Okay, I think finished to introduce Professor Izumi and then also Professor Lutfi. Now the first speaker, Professor Izumi. Yes, Sensei, please. Now is yours. Time is yours.
Thank you. It's not maximized.
Okay.
It's good.
Yes,
Okay.
clear.
So thank you for a detailed introduction, Dr. Diana-san. And I prepared the Diana-san, determine the title, how to write the papers. So I thought about it yesterday, and I think I start with this title. And so, but this is the first time to talk about how to write papers, and I considered it's something like how to be the best home run player in baseball, or in music, how to be the best violinist. Or in sports, how to be the best, the Japanese, the sumo champion. Sumo is the wrestling, Japanese wrestling, sumo champion, Yokozuna. So, but science, so write paper in science, something is similar to sports or arts, but something is different from sport and art. So I classified, and what I may talk about maybe how to write. We write papers, and I think I sometimes write good paper and sometimes moderate paper. But I may talk about today how to write excellent, improve papers. So, and classification continues, and so similarity to sports, art, between sports or art and science, similarity is so as until write paper and finalize our paper, similarity is practice is first. So practice in science, maybe practice, maybe experiments. And in sports or art, the game or concert is the some kind of goal. And in science, in academic science, maybe paper is one of the goals. And also similarity, in both cases, money is needed. For sports and arts, so good violin, the player needs violin, and money is needed. In science also, to write paper, so money is needed. So it's very similar. But it's not exactly the same, I think. I felt, yesterday night I considered for the difference. And sport and art, it's more like inborn, it's the congenital, I felt. But in science, more like acquired, people acquire the talent in science, I think. And also in science, I think luck, it depends more luck, in my opinion. So I continue, in this context, I continue how to write excellent papers. But I show one example. This is not something goal, but I show one example of, this is one of the abstract I wrote before, we wrote before, and I use this as one of the example of write paper. If you feel it's excellent or it's good, I'm happy, but this is one of the example how to make papers. So abstract, it's written, the background, experiment, background and the objective. In the first part, I talk one by one, but roughly speaking, so how to write excellent paper, the background and objective appears first, then experiment, it comes next, and something major finding comes. Major finding is very important because it's something already known, is not to be continued. It's something new finding comes next, and then new finding is continued. Its experiment is continued, related experiment to it solves something, to add something to major finding, and then connects to your works, previous works. So based on your experience or your knowledge, so it's something, it's one, two, three step, and finally its conclusion, or is. So this kind of writing is needed. So how we can improve the paper, and make it excellent is important. So I consider one by one. So, but this is, I'm working in, like Diana-san, I'm working, and also when I was student, the Professor Ampo Sensei, Osaka Prefect, the university name has changed a little bit, but it's unified. The Professor Ampo, the university has been unified to the other university. So, but this is one example, and this is the beginning part. Just I copy again. Then working in photocatalysis, and this is related to CO2 conversion paper. So conformation of 2-tene CO2 isotope level 2-tene CO2 photo conversion into 2-tene seq products like 2-tene CO or 2-tene methane. Isotope level product is crucial to produce solar fuel. However, the total reactant and charge flow during the reaction is complex. Therefore, the role of light during this reaction needs clarification. So this is saying so CO2 conversion, and to confirm in time course is important. That's what I wanted to study at this time, three years ago. So this is the idea. So idea is the beginning, I think. And so everybody does do this. So I think how this idea is good, that's very important because it's beginning. And so, and often the idea, money is needed to enable your experiment. So write grants, possibly, and to, based on your idea in your head, and then what is the problem in your study, in your topic, in your field, is considered based on your idea. So this is the first part. So first part is to write paper based on your idea and problem to be solved. The first part is written. That's, and how it depends how excellent the paper is, depends on how your idea is good and how idea is not your own idea, not the something like imitation. So then this is similar slide, but next section. So this is what was done based on idea, money, and what is done, it comes next to write paper. So in my case, in our field, the case CO2 conversion, silver zirconium oxide catalyst was chosen, and we tried some, and this was good. So this result is we focus on this for this paper, and we try to do the good paper. So check, for example, the impurity or adventitious carbon to see in detail the effect. And the isotope labeling, the reactant products and intermediate at surface were monitored. And for grants, for example, gas chromatography, mass spectrometry was needed. We had FTIR before, but we need travel fee to scuba X-ray facility was needed. So grant is given, and for vibration, thermal vibration in the X-ray data, thermal vibration is analyzed based on idea, and they also finding good colleagues to talk and consider about the detail. So this slide is lucky to invite good collaborator, but I forgot to add, but the bottom line is to do money and collaborator. So X-ray absorption fine structure. Professor Ampo was also doing this technique. I remember that. I sometimes discussed at the conference with Professor Ampo group, I remember. And he gave me very good suggestions often. And so this is the idea, and so this is what was done, experiment. So like sports and art practice, to write paper in science, experiments is essential. And so based on idea. And next section is the major result. Major result. Result should be very interesting always. So I try to do the our own, not something like similar. I try to all the paper, never imitate other people's work. Always our own. So this is for this case, the exposure to 13 isotope level 13 CO2 hydrogen and UV visible light 13 CO selectively formed while this is something unexpected result. the 8.6% of 12 means normal, CO mixed in the product always, it says always, in the product due to the formation of the 13 bicarbonate species from air that exchanged with the 13 CO2 gas phase during 2-hour reaction. So this rough reading, this looks something not very, something very normal. It's simple. It sounds simple experiment, but it's not. It's not so. The 13 CO to this 13 CO2, the reagent, 99% is 13C, and 1% 12C as impurity in the product. And so, in our photocatalysis, the 13 CO was 91.4% and 12 CO 8.6. It's in contradiction. So it was studied in detail. So, and I think based on this, I do not explain today about this finding in detail. I talk as how to write paper is today's topic. So maybe in Diana-san, it's Thursday and Friday, I think. Maybe I may have opportunity to talk in detail our work, or from the basic point to or recent research activity. But so this is based on this, detailed analysis, time course analysis, we find the 12 CO2 from air was behaving at the active site. So that was the major finding. So to try to check in detail what was in contradictory. So, and do not pass what is uncertain. Check very, very carefully everything. And so experiments. And so we think this is a major part. So this is very important to write excellent paper. And then then experiment to continue is important. So the student had at the domestic conference, he had good reputation, not star, but good reputation in his talk, but he did not slow down and continued his efforts, his experiment. That's important. So this is what was done. So not simple isotope labeled experiment. He used the light filter experiment, cut at 2. This is band gap. So this is his catalyst, but he checked. Now this is the absorption spectral data he took, and he also analyzed the performed experiment by using UV cut data, UV cut filter experiment, and also no light and comparison experiment. Many sets of experiment was continued. So this is also important. I think in recent days, today I'm not talking to students, but I think in recent days, this to continue is very important. If I talk to students, so this is section, maybe the experiment part 2. Okay. And here, experiment result is still continued, but then this part. So I said to write excellent paper, I think to idea your own idea, and also so experiment based on your own idea, knowledge, or experience in science is I think it's very essential. So this for this paper case, so photocatalysis is studied, but in this case we utilized kinetic, not very special heat. Yeah. Here, this is abbreviation. This is P is plasmon, R is resonance. So surface, localized. So plasmon is so by visible light, or maybe also as well as the UV light, silver surface. Electron is vibrating. Electron group is vibrating at the silver surface due to the radiation of visible light. And so, but what more is not well known. How the vibration of the electron, group vibration affects to your photocatalysis is not certain. Many discussions exist, but nobody knows for sure. So we try to utilize our experience. So our experience was, for example, I'm not saying the excellent experience. We just continued to study for a long time. So we try to utilize the X-ray spectroscopy experience to photocatalysis, because photocatalysis, many people is doing photocatalysis, but nobody has analyzed the thermal factor, the X-ray absorption spectroscopy. Maybe I talk on Friday. Friday is I think, characterization, the technique section, Diana-san said, I think. The Thursday is the catalyst day, I think. Photocatalyst and the catalyst preparation day. And so we try to utilize our long experience of X-ray spectroscopy. So we considered to analyze thermal factor is always analyzed, but that is just mechanically analyzed to obtain coordination number. And thermal factor is almost always neglected, and nobody checked in detail. But we utilized in our own way the thermal factor, and reversely, based on thermal factor, the silver temperature was determined. Nobody considered about that. People think the silver temperature and how much vibration is obtained. That's everything in physics paper. It was mostly analyzed, but reversely, based on thermal factor, we obtained the silver temperature. And silver temperature, to evaluate silver temperature, was very essential, because this is not the catalyst temperature. So our catalyst is silver combined composite catalyst, silver zirconium oxide catalyst, and just silver. 3 angstrom silver site temperature was obtained by our own knowledge or own technique. So this is to adjust the paper's finding, and such kind of not simple extension, not simple sequence of experiments, the using recent technique, that would be good paper, but not highest paper, I think. The utilize your own knowledge and experience is, I think it is also essential to be the excellent, and top level paper to be cited often. And then almost coming to final part of the abstract. This is one example. And this is so like, if we assume it's art, so finding is the, so first, like a first topic and maybe second topic. In first movement, the composer shows the begin his tune, his symphony. And second movement, I said to continue. So the topic in first movement comes somewhat different way. It shows so development. And third movement. So in Japanese, I don't think in English it's called something like this, but it's something like not just begin and end. In Japanese, but I do not explain today. Today is not Japanese course. And this is beginning and continue, and this is turn. Turn is important in drama, in your drama. So maybe it's also to write good paper, excellent paper, maybe something like drama. And so for good symphony, like Beethoven symphony or something, Gustav Mahler symphony. So it's the third movement is turn. So turn is, in this case, the hydrogen reaction with hydrogen was used as the second part of artificial photocatalysis. That experiment was discussed, and then moisture was also used as the total artificial photosynthesis. And the result is written, and magnesium, this is something to turn. Magnesium addition was very effective to trap, because this is alkaline. And so this is something to turn, consider, and control your paper structure of this 4-movement symphony-like structure. So in this abstract, the conclusion is not written. The abstract length is very limited, so we could not include conclusion. This is something lacking. But so here also utilize knowledge and experience. And I think, so maybe my talk is maybe too short, but I try to be more extensive talk on Thursday and Friday. So this is my final slide. And so this structure, including your idea, grant proposal, and the movement of experiments, integrates your 4 movement as a paper. This is basically to write excellent paper. So Diana-san, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Izumi, a nice presentation. So we can conclude that if we want to write the paper, this is the important, and for the first one is introduction, and then development. The third is turn, and then finally is conclusion. So sometime we have some of data from experiment, and we don't know how to improve, how to develop, and then how to turn, and finally to conclusion. Maybe Sensei, okay, we continue to the second speaker, and then after that we discuss about how to write the paper. Professor Lutfi, are you ready?
Yes, thank
Yes.
you.
Please, now your screen.
Okay, I will try to share my screen. Can you see?
Yeah.
It's clear, okay.
Okay. So, yes, I think this topic is quite same with Izumi Sensei's presentation. So, but I will focus on some part for especially for Indonesian writers and also for scientists and also lecturer from Indonesia. So the title of my presentation is how to write scientific papers to be published in reputable journals. So for Indonesian researcher, we focus on the what is the reputable journals. But yes, previously Sensei explained the writing of the paper is just like a sport, which is very nice and very interesting. So I will focus on what is the reputable journals and how to submit the papers and prepare, especially in writing the manuscript for submitting to this kind of reputable journals. So here I will show that the credibility of a journal may be assessed by examining several key factors. First one is where is it indexed? Is the journal included in the major bibliographic database? So as we may all know that the biggest database nowadays is Scopus database that is belongs to Elsevier. But yes, I think my sensei also always publish the paper in this database. But most of Indonesian people initially didn't know what is Scopus. So this is the biggest and also maybe the best currently database. If the journal is indexed in Scopus, it means that journal is a reputable journal. So please don't submit your manuscript to the journals except this journal indexed by Scopus. And then what is its impact factor? So this impact factor is calculated from recent 2 years citation and then divided by the number of manuscript published in that journal. And this is belongs to Caliphate Analytics, the trademark of Caliphate Analytics. The bigger the impact factor of the journal means it is a better journal. So if possible, let's submit to the journal with the highest impact factor. And then what is the last database is belongs to SJR or Saimargo Journal and Country Ranks. This Saimargo Journal and Country Ranks based on the Scopus database, and they divided all of the journals into 4 categories. So the best one stated by the key 1, and then key 2, key 3, and key 4. Key is quartile. The means of key is a quartile. So key 1 denotes the top 25% of the impact factor distribution. So this is the best journal. So if possible, let's submit our manuscript to this key 1 journals. And then the second best is key 2. So this is for middle high position between top 50% and top 25%. And then the next is Q3, quartile 3. This is the middle low position. It means the top 75% to top 50%. And the last one, Q4, the lowest position, bottom 25% of the impact factor distribution. So this is the last one. But besides journals indexed in this SGR and Scopus, there are also many more available over there. That is, yes, questionable journals. And if possible, we don't submit our papers to those journals. So the last point is what is its publishing history? How long has the journal been available? So the longer the history is, the better. So if possible, let's submit to the paper belongs to this publisher. So the next slide is the writing strategy. We have to know the hot topics that, especially in our field, chemistry or science, natural science, the progress of the findings is very fast. So the topics will change eventually, and we have to know the hot topics for nowadays in chemistry field. So here I saw some of the reputable publisher. For example, for chemistry, we have RSC or Royal Society of Chemistry, and then science, and then this is SCS or American Chemical Society, and then Elsevier itself. This is the biggest publisher up to now, and then Wiley, Nature, and so on. So if possible, this is the best option for publishing our research results. And then after know the topics, we then can read most of the paper published in those publishers. And to be accepted to those journals, we have to mimic how to write and also how to present the data from those reputable journals. So, for example, minimum data required to show in our manuscript. So, if the data is lack or very short, it will be rejected before it is delivered to the reviewer, rejected by the editor. So that is very, very sad, but it is often occur to our Indonesian researcher. So we have to know the minimum data required. And then the second one is how to present our data. And this is also very important. And then how to visualize the data and how to analyze those data. So this 4 point is very important to be accepted to those reputable journals. This is an example how to present the data. So the first group is from quartile 3 journals, belongs to Journal of Analytical Science and Technology. So, and we can compare to those from the Q1 journal, which is Chemistry of Materials. So we can see here very contrast presentation of the data. So Q1 is very simple. For example, this is the characterization of the samples using FTIR for a transform infrared spectroscopy. So very simple presentation. But for Q1, we have to write down more detail of the characterization. So this is in the materials and methods section. So if we submit this kind of simple characterization to Q1 journals, so maybe it will be rejected by editor because they think this is not good enough to be published in their journals. And then the second example of how to present the data. So we can see here the FTIR spectrogram this is belongs to Q1, which is the best journal available, and then compared to the Q2 journals. So we can see clearly that Q3 is a very simple presentation of spectrogram compared to those of Q1. So if we want to be accepted in the best journal available, we have to do more work. And for example, we write down here the detail of the peak of FTII. So if we have this kind of data, it is a very high chance to be accepted in the Q1 journals. And then this is another example for the same scanning electron microscope presentation or visualization of the data. The upper figures belongs to Q3, and then the lower figures belongs to Q1. So we can see that in Q1 papers, we have a very clear or contrast identification of the photograph of SAM, and then the scale is so very clear, and we have to add some definition or information of the SAM itself. So compared to the Q1 data, this is it is from the machine, and then we just copy paste the result of the FTIR, and then without further modification. So this is not so good compared to the those below pictures. And then for data analysis, so first the explanation accompanied by data evidence. So we have always show the evidence. For example, if we conclude that our synthesis is good enough, and then also can be repeated by other researcher, we have to provide the data. So, for example, we take a iteration or the application of the experiment, and we show the average of the value, and then plus minus the deviation or standard deviation. So the data is very important, and then the explanation must be accompanied by the data evidence. And then we have also referred to other published papers. So our data should be supported by published journals. So even if we find different result, but theoretically we have to also show the others published papers, and then compare to the latest research results. So usually I at the end of the papers make tables, and I compare, for example, LOD or limit of detection, and then linear range of our developed analytical method to other papers published in latest research results. So this kind of comparison is also very important. And then the last one, if possible, we add the illustration. So the reader, the editor, and the reviewer will easily understand the mechanism of the reaction. For example, the mechanism how our analytical method was done, and so on. So this kind of illustration can be a plus, especially for the Q1 papers. This is the example of illustration from the reputable journals. This is from Nano Energy. We can see very clear and colorful illustration. And then this is for chemistry of materials, and then sensors and actuators, and from the journals of chemical engineering. So this kind of illustration is very important if we want to submit the papers to the Q1 or Q2 journals. And then the continuous writing strategy that I highlight here. So before starting, we have to answer some questions as follows. First one, am I doing something original or new? So this is for novelty. Novelty is very important. What is the difference with previous papers or previous research from the other research group? If there is no novelty, it is better to stop the experiment. So because it will be time consuming and useless, we cannot publish in reputable journals. So the novelty is very important. And then the second one is, there anything challenging in my research? So this is also very important. The challenge and the interesting or the important of our research. Is there any? If there are any, so we can continue our research. And then the third one is the research conducted related to current hot topics. So for example, in our research group topics, currently the chemists worldwide found the MOPS materials, which is stand for this MOPS is very useful for absorbent, for example, for toxic gas or toxic compounds, iodized. So we can synthesize the MOPS and then also use it for other biodegradation or to absorb the chemicals from the environment. So, and then the other example of hot topics in my field is the digital image colorimetry. So we use the colorful or colored samples, and then we can measure or determine the concentration of the compounds, chemical compounds, by using the digital image found in our digital camera or from our smartphone. So those kind of hot topics is very important to be published in the reputable journals. And then the last one, do all the data that has been obtained support the answer to the problem posed? So there must be the right line between the objective of our research and then the conclusion. So the conclusion should be answer the question of the research. So this is before starting, we have to write down this kind of question and also the answer of this question. And then we can continue if all of this question is answered. So the next step is choosing the right journal. First, identify the target community of readers, and then know the scope of the selected journal and read reference sources that are used. So this kind of journal choosing is very important because we have to mimic how they write the paper, and then the hot topic that is often published in the journals in recent years, and also how they visualize the data and then present the table, and then discussion also is very important. So choosing the right journal is the next step. And then characteristic of a good manuscript. So it should be contains a clear scientific message, and then the manuscript can explain the author's thoughts clearly and logically, compile in a format that support the story submitted, and then written in a good way so that the message is conveyed clearly to the reader. So this characteristic of a good manuscript is also very important. We have to write down our thought clearly and also supported by our research data. And then the title selection, how to write down the title of manuscript. It should be concise, between 50 up to 100 characters. And then it should be reflect on the important point of the manuscript and does not contain abbreviation if possible, except for those broadly known, such as FTIR or ICD-MAS and so on. So this is the title will be read first by the editor and reviewer. So the title should be very, very important, and we have to choose the best title for our manuscript. And then the abstract also very important. This is the next part of our manuscript that will be read by our editor and also reviewers and readers. So this is very important. So the abstract is a summary of problem and then method and results. And then it will show the interesting and easy to understand, specific and accurate, short and to the point. So usually most journals that only they only allow around 250 words of abstract. So don't write it very long, because otherwise it will be rejected by the editor of the journals. And then the next one is for introduction. What topics are highlighted, and then what problem was raised, shown the research gap. What is the research gap? This is very important for the novelty of our research. And then identify the solution offered. So this is this kind of topic should be written in the introduction. And the introduction also not very long. It can contain around 3 paragraphs. That is enough for the good papers. And then the methods, research methods, our methodological and also instrument that was used during our research. So we have to state the chemicals used and where they came from, where we bought that chemicals. So we have to state clearly, and then we have to describe the research design briefly and systematically. And then the last one, state what instruments are used in the research. So including the manufacturer, and then where it produced, the city and the country name of the producer of that instruments. So this kind of information is very important for the reputable journals. And then next is the results and discussion. It should be clear and easy to understand, and then use paragraph headings that describe the findings. Make sure the data you have is the result of repeated tests. So as I mentioned before, if possible, at least we replicate our experiment 3 times, and we show to the reader the average of experiment plus minus the deviation standard of that experiments. And then use high quality images and illustration. This is also very important to be able to publish in the reputable journals. and compare the results with other studies. This is also should be written in the result and discussion. And then the data preparation, use shapes and colors that highlight the data, avoid excessive but meaningless graphics, and then pay attention to the scale and labels on the axis, y-axis and x-axis. And then the graphics legend contains sufficient explanation. So some paper, they have a very long legend of the graphics or figures because they have to explain what is the legend of that findings. And then the references, we have to avoid too many references. Usually for short article, we use only around 30 references. That is enough, but except for the review articles, it is often used around 100 references. So depend on the kind of papers. For research articles or research paper, usually we allow around 30 references. But for review articles, we can write down 100 or more references. And then avoid excessive self-citation. So at the most, 10% of our paper can be cited in the paper, in the manuscript, but don't use all of the references that is come from our papers. That is not good, and also it will be rejected by editor before they send the manuscript to the reviewer. And then the last one, make sure the references follow the format of the intended journal. So for this point, we can use the reference manager such as EndNote or Mendeley or Zotero. That is very helpful to manage the references. So at the beginning, we have to follow the format and also the the intended journal that we want to submit. And then the last but not the least is a cover letter. So this is also very important. We have to include the originalities and novelty of our research findings in this cover letter. Why the research is important and should be reported to the academic community or in our field. And then if they are available, we can also suggest the reviewers or exclude some reviewers. But I rather rarely use this kind of reviewers suggestion or exclusion. And then please not to include the abstract in the cover letter because this is already available in another files. And then please not to include the laboratory achievements, etc. So this is should be concise, clear, and also very informative because the editor will also decide whether our manuscript will be processed further or will be rejected based on this cover letter. Okay, maybe that's all my presentation. I think yes, my presentation is also not so long. We can continue in discussion or answer question and answer to be more useful to the audience. And then if there are some question in Bahasa, I can also answer those questions and maybe we can translate it to English. So another student abroad outside Indonesia so can understand the content of this discussion. Okay, that's all. Back to Ibu Diana Sensei.
Thank you, Prof. Lutfi. It's very nice presentation. Okay, in the chat box is Anissa Lutfia. Hello, is there Anissa? Oh, okay. Since maybe I will read the question from Anissa. Anissa Lutfia, she will go to Ziba University with me also. Okay, I can read the question from Nisa Chang. I want to ask Professor Izumi and Professor Lutfi also. Next one about how to compile a paper based on research. However, when making a paper in the form of a review journal, what do you think need to consider? How to define idea to determine conclusion? Maybe this for Izumi Sensei. Also, you can read the question from Anissa in the chat box.
Izumi Sensei first, maybe.
Yes. Sensei? Yes. Yes.
Refine paper? Anissa-san, question?
Yes, this question from Anissa-chan.
Anissa-san is not here. I tried to find.
Say hello.
She is the, okay. So.
I'm sorry, I can on mic because, yes, not connection. Okay, I'm sorry, Sensei.
So you mean how to compile file to finalize paper? Compile. When today I'm listening to Professor Lufti-san's Dr. talk. I think I'm so always doing the process of writing paper. He explained everything from the beginning from abstract to conclusion and how graphic or how to choose paper. And I think I'm always doing in practice. So, I mean, and I didn't have opportunity to talk about how to make, for example. So in journals guideline, it's always written. And so we always read how to finalize and how to refine. And, but today I'm listening to Dr. Lufti's talk and I realized I'm always doing this in practice. So when we make each paper, and I was thinking when the Diana-san decided to submit the world-class professor program with including me, I thought we will have opportunity to refine paper in practice. So based on Diana-san's already done and ongoing manuscript or work is maybe something would be added and refined in practice, I thought. And how to refine. So it's important points Dr. Lufti already mentioned. The question is answered, so check carefully all the question is answered. And check carefully all the related, the paper he mentioned as the references. Related reference is adequately included. So for each paragraph, check one by one question is, this question is answered, this question is answered, this question is answered. Then, in different point of view, this reference, all the related references for this point, it's added, FTIR, it's added, mass spectrometry, it's added, kinetic is added, consecutive reaction added, isotope labeling, I added, and recent trend, all the recent trend, he said hot topics, and hot topic and also hot topic to the target journal. He said so for refine, these things is checked one by one and also his explanation is very, very constructive and nice, instructive. Check the graphics and carefully check the graphic. All the graphic says everything as even only the graphic, just see some reader just see graphic, abstract and graphics, and do not really read the text often. So graphics say everything, stand alone. They say everything is to check these things. I think these are the refinements, major. And then finally, maybe English language edition is done. Maybe it takes one week. And after that, we can read from fresh point of view. We can read as something new paper by other person. So, and then if we feel this is nice paper, that's not scientific. It's feeling. Its feeling is good. Its refinement is done, I think. That's something I can say about the question. Ani?
Okay, thank you, Izumi Sensei. Maybe Anissa Chang asked also about review journal, not only data from research.
The review journal?
Yes.
Anissa-san wish to write review journal? Review journal? Review paper?
Yes, review paper.
So to write review paper, finalize, review paper, I have done not so many review paper, but how to write review paper?
Yes.
How to write review paper, maybe, also it's also related to Dr. Lufti's talk, to check carefully the topic, recent topic. I have written review paper, and including Professor Ampo work. The reviewer sent to me, it's too much Professor Ampo group work in the review. So, but I've taken all the works by Professor Ampo group. So check carefully the background, but for review paper, maybe not just 5 years. These 5 years, maybe 10 years or 15 years, maybe better to describe the trend, all the trend, because some reader is, I was at the international conference, I was said, we checked your review paper and it's nice it's written from the beginning. So beginning, the basic level is, I think it's nice. And also check, finalize review paper, and editor and reviewer should give us the nice idea to improve.
Okay, thank you, Sensei. Anissa, is clear? Maybe if not that clear, we can discuss later next week.
We can talk directly.
Okay, direct. Thank you, Sensei. Now the next question for Professor Lutfi?
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
I'm so sorry. I have to close my video because very bad connection, Sensei. Yeah. Yes, I agree with Izumi Sensei that for review papers, we have to check the hot topics recent papers. Yes, especially in the last 10 or 15 years. For example, Anissa Sang reviews papers published or write in the digital image colorimetry. So Anissa Sang can start write the topic of digital image colorimetry, because that is one of the hot topics nowadays, especially in the analytical chemistry field. Or another topics that we can try is MOFs, metal organic frameworks. So that is also very recent findings, and many papers published in that kind of MOFs, because MOFs has very large surface area, and it is useful for many application. So just start compile the paper in the last 10 years, and then we can write down and start the review papers, just like Izumi Sensei said before. And then for the next question, the greater the impact factor, the more difficult it is to publish. Yes, because the acceptance rate of the Q1 journal is very low. There are many researchers worldwide that submitted to those journals. So we have to prepare our research topic and also our manuscript very good, if possible. Yes, without lack, flawless. Because, for example, when we write down or we make a illustration or make a graphics, use the origin software, for example. Do not use the Excel or other spreadsheet that is for making graphics. Or so this kind of software, Origin, and then also Mendeley and other application is very useful to make a very good manuscript. So yes, we have to design from the beginning our paper. If we want to submit it to the Q1, the best journal available, we have also to design it from the beginning of the research. So otherwise, it is very hard to be accepted in those kind of very high impact factor journals. So maybe that is my answer. Diana Sensei. Yes.
Anissa is clear? Okay, yes, thank you so much, Professor Lutfi, and then also Professor Izumi. From audience, any other question? If not yet from audience, maybe I will ask to Izumi Sensei, what important if we have submit a manuscript to journal, we choose the high impact factor or the open access journal, or we choose also how much we should pay, because in my country we should to think about article processing charge. when I study in Osaka, I don't care how many unpossessive you pay for a journal. But here in my country, I should to think how much. Sometimes if we have to submit to high impact factor, also high cost. Is this right? So we should think about this one. So my question is, which one we choose? Impact factor, open access, and or article processing charge is more important.
Diana-san, I think it's a very good question. And also it's a very good question for me. And also maybe also Ampo Sensei also, how much he should pay. That's important. And but Diana-san, recently the condition is so different. So recent in my experience, so basically to choose high impact factor journal is good, basically, in my opinion. And because high impact factor journal is well read. As soon as that is for example, our paper is published on web, it is often read by many people, hundreds or maybe 1,000 people read in very short period. But the fee is it depends on, I think, condition. And also it's related to the price of the journal. Journal means how library pay for that. Because the open access, that's also pay, but on the other side, library pay for the subscription. And that is, but I think it's very changing. And in mind, as far as I know, and this is what I wish to say to you today. So, for example, Elsevier, the Dr. Lufti mentioned about Elsevier, but Elsevier is becoming very, very expensive. And I do not know Elsevier, the journals is I do not know Q2 or not, but they have many journals. But for example, in Japan, the Elsevier, but also other countries, I think, also United States. In United States, Elsevier is too expensive, and people somewhat refrain from submitting Elsevier because, for example, in our university, it's still discussing, but Elsevier is asking too much money for subscription. But Elsevier is, I think, the conclusion is they suggested the reduced price to our university to limited subscription, not everything. For example, Scopus is not included. Scopus costs also. So that is open access or fee issue. And for example, American Chemical Society journal is very good because it needs money to read. University should pay, but it's not too much. And they ask no fee to authors, no article processing charge. I do not know how Diana-san is, but I do not wish to pay for art publishing. And American Chemical Society journal is very good. I do not pay anything. And that is read, and their web is very good. So that may be first choice. And it depends so our manuscript is good. The higher journal in American Chemical Society is chosen, or depending on the scope. But they have some. So Dr. Lufti said that to check the trend. So for example, I often visit the American Chemical Society meeting to check the trend, most recent trend, how they are doing research in our related area. So to check at the American Chemical Society is very nice to check. and then submit to American Chemical Society. And I think Royal Chemical Society also, they do not, UK, they do not ask money, I think. But the German Chemical Society, Angewandte Chemie is very good journal, and I was happy to publish, and that is read. But I recognize they ask article processing charge. So it's not so much, but Elsevier do not ask. Therefore, but Elsevier asks the reader. So we should be check how audience or reader, potential reader of our paper, because Elsevier, if they ask too much high fee for subscription, many people cannot access to our paper, Elsevier paper. So that's the things to be, and so the open access, I think open access is still, for example, for me, Japan also, we need to pay from research money. We do not have budget for article processing or open access money. But in my feeling, it's more important to use money for experiments than to be open access, to make it open access. For example, American Chemical Society, we have option to make it open access. And they say golden open access or something like that. But it's Japanese yen, 40万円 is the dollar, it's changing so much, but how much dollar? 10,000? No. 3,000 or something like that. $4,000 or something like that. US dollar is required for open access. I think, in my impression, it's too much. And we still do not know the trend, how much the citation increases by making it open access. So in my suggestion, to publish it, because many people subscribe American Chemical Society journals. So American Chemical Society journal may be first choice. And then open access, but we should be also very careful. Some open access journal is not well read. They just ask money, and they are not, few researchers is checking. We should avoid such, because they just want money. So the open access, famous open access is good, but some not well-known open access is known, and we should be careful. It's not really read, and so like maybe citation is almost zero, is in a couple of years, it's not good. So when Diana-san and Anita-san has the manuscript or manuscript ongoing, we may work together and try to choose, for example, American Chemical Society journal, maybe, or Royal Society of Chemistry may be also good. And they do not ask for authors, just for, and maybe relatively acceptable price for university or government. Maybe Indonesia, how you pay for journal, I do not know, but university or government pay for the journals reading.
Yes, okay. Thank you for the answer. Any question for audience? Okay, since maybe I have also another question. How about age index? I saw Sensei have 20 more, 27 age.
I suppose so.
Yes. do you think about H index? And then the next question is citation. Some researcher maybe auto citation to journal team. How do you think about that, Sensei?
So Professor Lufti mentioned also H index and self-citation, and also the impact factor he mentioned. And so these are often talked and or described. And an impact factor is this is not directly related to Diana-san question, but the impact factor is for the journal, basically. So something like average value for all the citation divided by the number of the paper published in 1 year or in 5 years, or maybe 2 years. And the citation, so H index is for the author, certain people, researcher, it's the average value of something like average value of the review. No, something like the average, the mean value of her paper cited. So in general sense, it's more important for the researcher as the evaluation made by Scopus. And I think it's relatively accepted, even for for example, for his or her job, the reputation, but caution is also exists, like the Diana-san has mentioned, the self-citation. So if you increase much more self-citation, but the Scopus has the function to eliminate self-citation, how the H index decreases. So maybe for example, for when some departments use H index to find the new faculty member, they will would check the H index excluding his or her own self-citation. But still it's I think it's dangerous to just believe in H index and determine the higher H index person is chosen as to invite new faculty, to choose the faculty is among the candidates. It's still dangerous. So ultimately, to check the quality or the importance of the paper is required to choose the best person as new faculty, we believe. But the H index is relatively accepted, I think. And slightly different version is, I think, existing depending on the fields, how much, for example, how much paper is published or in certain fields. For example, in mathematics, they say it's difficult to write even one paper in 5 years is very difficult, they say. And in graduate student to write paper in mathematics field or theoretical physics field, they say it's very, very difficult. So how to say, that's field corrected citations, something like H index value is, I think it's also exists, but certain evaluation is done. And also I checked recently the Google Scholar, also gave how much it's cited. And Google Scholar searches everything, because every day Google computer, server is finding always accessing all the data, the internet accessible data as robots. So they show more citation than Scopus. And so maybe Google Scholar is also maybe used also, I think, like H index. Well, you can get your H index based on Google Scholar by making the average, the highest value in your H index curve. So, so it's, I think, rough evaluation of the researchers, but basically, as the Diana-san showed for my case, that's not included in our very, very recent paper, but because it was reported to you in winter, I think. So for example, Japanese grants reviewing process, the database exists and to show all the papers, and also all try to include all the international conference invited talks. And so ultimately to review to such CV is, I think, necessary rather than H index. H index is the simplified rough evaluation, I think. How do you think?
Yes, I think your explanation is very clear, and then I am sure also. Any question from our audience?
Some chats. I see 4 chats, but it's not English. First one is English. Some are not, I think, English.
This is, I tell that I thank for coming my friend from University Jambi, and this is also a different island from my island, and also Universitas Jenderal Sudirman, and then also Universitas Sunan Gunung Jati, Bandung, and also other university come from outside Padjadjaran University, Wastu Kencana, and then also from other institution to join this workshop lecture.
Yeah, I was checking your country island because the time gap. I wish to make sure the time gap. I realized Indonesia. In Indonesia, you have time gap.
Yeah.
So I was wondering when I should start, because in Indonesia time, but even in Indonesia time different. So
Yes.
I was checking your island.
Yeah. Yes, we have a lot of islands, small island, and
I don't think small. It's, I think, big. Indonesian island is big, I think.
Yes.
We have 2 hours difference. So now it's maybe only 9:41 a.m. in Indonesia.
Yes.
I see.
And
in
Japan should be
11.
11.
Yes,
Almost
11.
lunch time.
Oh, yes. Since now, are you in laboratory?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I thought it's somewhat noisy for you. They are cleaning. One of the laboratories cleaning their apparatus. They abandon apparatus, and they are breaking. So I felt the somewhat noisy, but if it's minimum, I hope it was minimum.
We don't hear that.
Yes.
Okay, nice.
It is okay.
It's very nice.
Okay. Professor Atik, are you here? Since maybe I will introduce. This is my boss.
I see.
Professor Atik, head of laboratory. Bu Atik, are you here? Oh, maybe not here. Okay.
There are also some students from my institution, Bengkulu University, and yes, they thanks to Izumi Sensei and Diana Sensei for this.
Oh, really?
To join, yes.
Oh, okay.
Some of my students also here.
Which one?
Dewi Jumiani.
Jumiani, hello.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Oh,
Eddy,
okay.
Dwi Yastuti.
Oh, Dewi Jumiani.
Mhm.
Okay, this is from Bengkulu University. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't see. Okay, thank you very much. Nova.
And so on.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
It is finished? Not question? Okay, I think maybe Sensei also know almost lunch. Here I will appreciate for this lecture. And then we will give some certificate.
Oh, thank you.
For Izumi Sensei, and then also for Lutfi Sensei for this lecture. And then one more, thank you very much for join for this program. And then also I invite you to the next program in the Friday is the workshop series 2. We invite from the Research National BRIN. What's the name of the BRIN in English? Research, Technology, Inovasi, or National. This is an institution from our government. For research. Maybe in Japan is RIKEN. Yes. RIKEN. Yes. Not university. Okay, RIKEN. Yes. Dr. Indah Primadona will join as the speaker on the next Friday. And then also on the Tuesday, Izumi Sensei will give a teach to my student. This is the guest lectures, and our lecture in synthesis of inorganic compound. Okay. Once again, thank you very much for Izumi Sensei, and then also Prof. Lutfi, and then our participant. See you. Maybe we can take a picture, please. Open camera. For the last. Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes. Lintang? Yes. Pak Ponco, will you open camera? Also a member of Professor Izumi Laboratory. Would you please open?
I will count in.
Okay, ready? Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Cheese. The next slide. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Is finished? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for all participants. See you next Friday. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sensei.